at a time.
Losing the mask, we're seeing the man behind it.
If this is my way to make an impact.
Let's see, manage participants so I can.
This world and change some lives.
What do I need to do to mute everybody? Because somebody's watching TV and we can all hear it.
And there's so many people in this corner tonight, including his training partner, Tiana Weatherly, buddy JJ Woods.
All right, I'll just go through here and.
Trip to the Vegas finals. Well, you want to.
All right. So let's see. So I'm recording. All right. So guys, welcome to the Team Panacea call. We do this call every Monday night at 8:30 Central. So you go to a place to kind of get plugged in, find out what's going on, find out what's working, what's not, and who's doing what. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Obviously, we didn't have a call last week, but I missed you guys, but I hope that it was a safe and happy holiday. I want to talk a little bit. I haven't talked a little bit or in a while, kind of telling you guys my story and what it is that got me to where I am now, or where we are now. Glad she didn't hear that. But so listen. So in 2009, I was about 60 pounds heavier than I needed to be, and I decided that I needed to do something. I was a SWAT team leader and almost got kicked off of the own SWAT team because I implemented a physical fitness standard and almost failed it. So I decided, that I needed to do something about that. I saw P90X on an infomercial. It looked really hard. So to me, the way my brain works, that means that it must work. So I bought it and I did it. And, to begin with, I was pretty sure that somehow or another this was a scam, but I also strongly believed that if it worked and if it was legit and it was really up to me whether or not I was going to succeed, then I was going to crush it because I wanted to succeed. And so when I lost all of that weight, people started coming to me and they started asking me what I was doing, and I was super excited about what I was doing. And so when I talked to these people, excuse me, I'd started earning a little bit of money also. And so when I started talking to these people, I think that they could see my excitement. And I never once felt salesy, right? And I know that that's a common thing, a common obstacle that new coaches and maybe some veteran coaches deal with, is that they feel like they're being salesy. And I never felt that way because I knew that if I could do it, they could do it too. And, I knew that if they did it and they did it right, then it would absolutely change their life. And so a little bit of my story, I won't go through the whole thing because I'm sure that most of you have heard it. But, I was in the beginning, basically that first 2 years, guys, I didn't watch TV. Except for Survivor, never missed an episode. But I didn't watch any other TV. Before Beachbody, I played Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, like 4 hours a day, right? I mean, I would come home from work and people would be asleep at the house, or I would wake up before people would come home. And so I played video games. And it was fun, but it wasn't doing anything to make my life better. Right. And so I stopped and now I can't play them at all because these 10-year-old Koreans crush me because I haven't played in forever. So, I just don't have that distraction anymore. But I worked, I spent time with my kids, and I built this business. You be quiet, Natalie. I'm going to block y'all. Okay. So I might place an app on my phone every now and then. Not all the time, but anyway, why do I not turn chat off? Chatty Wileys. So I started. My goal was to just pay for my stuff. That's all I wanted to do. Actually, my first goal was to not lose money. Right? I didn't have very high goals. My first goal was to not end up with a closet full of Shakeology, and that was pretty apparent that wasn't going to happen. And so then my goal was to not lose money. And I wasn't losing money. I wasn't making a ton. You know, my first paycheck was $14, but it didn't take me long to get to a spot where I was earning money. And, you know, I made diamond in 6 weeks because everybody that I talked to them about this opportunity, and I talked to them about doing something with this business. And I knew that if they did it and they did it right, that it would absolutely change their life. And so as my business progressed, you know, at the time in 2009, I'd been a cop for, well, I don't know how long I'd been a cop for, but I'd been a cop for 14 years. And, you know, I was like, my plan at that time was to be a cop for 20, maybe 22, something like that. I was going to go over to Iraq or Afghanistan with all my SWAT buddies. That's what they did at the end. Go over there and do some contract work, and then come back and you work at the post office or be a greeter at Walmart till I was 65 or whatever, you know, because that's what people do in America is they work till they're 65. And really, that was my plan. But as this business started to progress, I stopped because at the time I was working 60 hours a week. I was working every overtime gig I could get. I was working every security gig I could get. I was working 12-hour shifts on midnights. I had kids in jiu-jitsu. I had kids in Boy Scouts. I had kids, you know, doing everything. And so, you know, when people talk to me about how busy they are, if by chance I wasn't busier than they are, there are successful people on this team who are. You know, it just depends on whether or not you legitimately want to do it or not. And so for me, I was really kind of buying back my time because I spent that time. I mean, you know, that 4 hours a day that I spent doing other things, you know, I changed that and I started pushing that to Beachbody. You know, if I talk to the postman, you know, I tried to get them on Facebook. If I talk to my waiter or waitress, I try to get hooked up with them on Facebook. And, you know, the thing is, this business has progressed. Network marketing has progressed to where, you know, there used to be back in the old day, if some of you people did Amway or something way back in the day, you know, they used to have this thing called a 30-second speech or a 30-second presentation where you're supposed to be able to tell somebody about your business and give them enough information to make a decision in 30 seconds. We're way past that. That's not how I build my business, and that's not how anybody I know builds their business. You know, what I do now is I try and collect Facebook friends, and then I let them see how this business has changed my life. Or, you know, and I'll reach out to them later and I'll start those conversations with them. But I don't hit people up to join me or even to buy a challenge pack in the line at Kroger or H-E-B or whatever grocery store you guys got local to you. But I will try and be Facebook friends with them. I'll find something in common with them. Oh, look, you know what? I love wheat thins too. You know, oh, you know what? My kids eat Go-Gurt too. You breathe air? Me too. We should be friends on Facebook. You know, I find some reason to hook up with them so that later we can have that conversation if it comes up. You know, it may not, and that's fine. You know, and if they tell me no, that's fine too, because, you know, there's a story that I like to tell where I think it was the first marathon or half marathon that I went to run. What are you waving? Are you waving by? Well, that's annoying, son. It's very distracting. Sorry. So anyway, so I'm at the Fort Worth Cowtown Marathon, right? Super fit, super cute girl with pigtails is standing in line next to Heather and I with I think we're waiting for the porta potty, right? So I strike up the conversation. I'm doing my thing, right? I'm trying to find what we have in common. We've got a lot in common, right? She's wearing a Tough Mudder headband. I'm thinking about doing a Tough Mudder at the time. We're both obviously about to run. She's in shape. You know, I'm in pretty decent shape. And so, you know, I'm talking to her and I'm like, hey, you know what? Are you on Facebook? And she's like, yeah, I am. And so, you know, I whip out my phone and I'm like, well, what's your name on Facebook? And she tells me, and I put the name in and I search for her and I can't find her. And I'm like, oh, I can't find you. And she's like, oh, it's because I have my privacy settings real high. And I was like, okay. And then she didn't say anything else. And I was like, okay, well, hey, you know, have a great race. And, you know, she just completely shot my wheels off. But you know, I don't care. I mean, you know, it's no skin off my nose. I don't take it personally, you know, I mean, and I tell that story all the time now, you know, so that story has become part of my example that I can reach out to other people and say, look, you can't sweat that stuff. If people tell you no, if people tell you go pound sand, I'm not interested, yada, 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 say fine, no problem. Don't take it personally and wish them the best. You know, if they tell you, hey, I'm going to, you know, no thanks, I'm going to go to the gym, you know, just got this membership, a free 30-day trial, whatever, super. You know, make a little note, reach back out to them in 30 days because you know what? Odds are they're going to weigh the same or more in 30 days because they're not going to go to the gym. They're not going to do what it is that they think they're going to do. So you just reach back out to them and you're like, hey, how's that working out at the gym going? And that conversation starts again. And if they tell you to go pound sand again, that's fine. You know, I've had everything that could possibly happen to me or that could possibly happen to you has happened to me over this time. But I don't let that stuff slow me down. I had somebody, listen guys, I had somebody who I was walking them through the sign up and, you know, she gets to the pay screen and she's like, oh, you know what? My wallet's in the car. Hold on, I'll be right back. She never came back. She didn't even hang up. She just sat the phone down and never came back. I don't remember how long I waited, but I was like, I don't think she's coming back. And, you know, it was like 20 minutes or something. I put it on speaker and started doing something else, but she never came back. And, you know, and then guess what? You know what? I was blocked from her on Facebook the next day. That's all right. I don't, you know, that's part of the game. It's part of the business. But so I kept working and I kept staying consistent. And as soon, you know, this last month was my 74th month in a row in Success Club. And when I first, it's funny, when they first announced Success Club and they were like, you know, 3 challenge packs. I'm paraphrasing because we didn't have challenge packs then. But, you know, they were like 3 challenge packs in a month. I don't think I'd ever sold a challenge pack in the beginning. And I was like, man, that's impossible. That was the first thing that came to my head. That's impossible. You know, but then I was like, but if it is, if it is possible, then I'm gonna do it. And I did it, you know, and then 2 or 3 months later, when all of my Success Club points came from people that I didn't know 2 or 3 months earlier, then I knew I'd never miss Success Club. Because if the people that I had talked to and I had helped get into a challenge pack that month, I didn't know them 2 months earlier, then I knew I would never run out of people. Does that make sense? Because, you know, the people that I'm going to sell, the people I'm going to help into a challenge pack 2 months from now, I probably don't even know who they are yet. May not have even, you know, made Facebook friends with them yet. So if you have that mindset, then, you know, that mindset of abundance instead of a mindset of scarcity, then it makes things a lot easier. So as my business was progressing, it's funny, guys, I remember this, I remember all of these benchmarks, right? Like when Cody wanted no part of the business. And, you know, I would sit down and she would be doing her thing in the kitchen and I'm sitting and I'm like, hey, we got paid today, $40. And she's like, who cares about $40? You know, you're spending, you know, 3-4 hours a day on this thing and you made $40. That's like $1 an hour, you know, big deal. You know, but when I was like, hey, we got paid, made $140. Then she was like, really? And she came over and she's like, all right, what are you doing? And then she got interested. And so then she started doing the business too. And so then I remember these benchmarks, guys, and I'm saying these to offer hope and inspiration, right? Not to brag, but I remember, you know, telling Cody, I was like, hey, I think we've made our last sub $400 a week paycheck. You know, I think from here on out, we're going to be making more than $400 a week. And, you know, I remember that conversation. I remember sitting in the SWAT room getting ready for a raid. And you know, the first coach I ever signed up, he quit now, big dummy. But, you know, the first coach I ever signed up, I'm sitting there and I'm getting dressed for this raid. And he's like, hey, how's that Beachbody thing going? I was like, dude, I made $800 this week. $800! You know, that's almost what I make as a cop. And, you know, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And those benchmarks kept coming, you know, until they got into the 4 digits. And you know, and they're going to keep going until they're in the 5 digits, you know, to that degree. Joan Crocker, who is part of Team Pan. She's running her own team now. She's got this huge team that she's running, just posting about her first 10-star bonus, right? Her 10-star bonus, the 10-star bonus, $15,000 every 3 months, $15,000 for making 10-star. That's in addition to the money she makes every week, right? So just in bonuses, what is that? That's $60K a year, before the money that she makes every week. And guess what, guys? Joan makes Success Club every single month, and she teaches her people and helps her people make Success Club every single month. So we get back to my story as my business started progressing, and I stopped working overtime. Even though, my overtime rate was $50 an hour, I was like, you know what? I don't want to work overtime. I want to go home and work on my Beachbody business, because I saw a great analogy or a great meme or whatever you call those things, where it talked about, successful people don't gauge their actions on where they are now. They gauge them on where they want to be tomorrow. So if you're sitting here and you're like, oh my gosh, and I'm just speaking for myself, right? Because I could have used that $50 an hour, but I was like, if you're sitting here going, oh man, I gotta go do that $50 an hour gig, because I need that money now, instead of, putting yourself in a position to where you're building for the future, then you might want to reconsider things, because those sacrifices that I made then have put me where I am now. So as my business progressed, and it's a little bit before my $800 a week deal. Guys, listen, I was driving a 2001 Ford Ranger pickup truck, right? I'm 6'3". The instant I drove this truck off the lot, I regretted it, right? Because it didn't even have like a crew cab, right? It just had that one seat, and my head touched the ceiling when I sat down. I wore the thing like a jacket, right? I mean, everybody made fun of me. I'm a Texas cop. Every freaking cop has a big giant truck, and I come rolling up in my clown truck, like I'm at Barnum and Bailey. And as time progressed, that truck, the truck wasn't terrible to begin with, but you fast forward to 2009, 2010, when I got started, when I finally made the decision to replace that truck. 8 years later, right, my truck, a freaking tree fell on it, knocked my rearview mirror off, right? I had crank windows. I didn't even have like power locks or power windows. The AC was out. I live in Texas. That was a beating, right? The tailgate wouldn't drop. And then when my brake light went out, I couldn't fix my brake light because I couldn't drop the tailgate, and my inspection was due. And so really I was like, okay, I got to do something here. And so one of my friends rolled up, and he was driving this nice truck, and I was like, man, how much is that truck? I got to get a new truck. And he's like, I pay like $500 a month. And I was like, $500 a month? It's like, I make that with Beachbody in a week. And the next day we went and we saw Toy Story 3. And I remember after we went to Toy Story 3, we were thinking about going to lunch, and Cody's like, hey, what do you want to do? And I was like, I think I want to buy a truck. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, I think I want to buy a truck. And, and I drove to the Chevy house across from Tinseltown. You guys that I see Chad from Bedford, he knows where Tinseltown is. I drove to the Chevy house across the street, and I bought a truck, and I bought a nice truck, a truck, that I still own now. I love that truck. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Beachbody. And I got to a spot where, instead of planning on working or, going over and working in the sandbox with the other mercenaries or contractors for a few years and then coming back and being a greeter or a postman, I was like, you know what? because now, my money with Beachbody had matched my money at the police department. And the reason that it did that is because I put that effort into it in the beginning. And so, I changed my tune to where I was like, all right, I'm doing my 20. No way am I leaving without doing my 20, but I'm not doing 20 in a day, and it's ironic because my coach, who was in the Air National Guard, he left at 17 years. And I think he left in 2010. He left the Air National Guard with 17 years. And I remember telling him, and I told Mark Briggs the same thing because he left in 09 with 17 years. He was a cop. And I was like, you're crazy. You're 3 years away from retirement. You can do that on your head. Why in the world would you leave now? And they all, they were like, no, man, I really thought about it, and I'm leaving. And guys, listen, at 17 years, when my Beachbody money had doubled after working the business hard for 3 years, my Beachbody money had doubled, more so, what I was making at the police department. I really started to wonder why I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning and putting on a pair of boots and going out there, to patrol the streets and miss my kids' soccer games again and have to ask somebody's permission to be present at their birthday parties. That's not what, that wasn't what I wanted. I loved my job as a cop. But I love spending time with my family more, and I think, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know what? I would never leave my job. I said that, I used to say that. And so, I won't speak for anybody here, but my challenge to you guys would be, I dare you to put yourself in a position to where the reason you go to work is because you just really love it and you don't need the money. And you might find that you don't love that job as much as you really think you do, because when I left, my plan, because I loved my job so much, my plan was, all right, I'm going to come back, 1 day a month, and I'm going to be a reserve officer, basically a volunteer officer. And I'm going to teach fighting or shooting because I don't necessarily love fighting, but I love teaching fighting, right? And so, I was the hand-to-hand fight instructor, and I was one of the SWAT tactics instructors. And so I left and I went on a 47-day vacation, packed up Cody and the Reedlings and my dad, and we left and we're gone for 47 days. We saw like 13 states and, a billion national parks. It was pretty epic. And I came back and then like 3 weeks later, something like that, the lieutenant called me and he's like, hey, we need you to come in next Wednesday and, teach defensive tactics, teach fighting. And I was like, okay, what time's that start? And he's like, 8. And I was like, 8? Like in the morning? And I was like, and I don't get to leave until when? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. And and I loved my job, but I had already grown accustomed to coming and going as I pleased without anybody's by your leave, that it just wasn't something that I needed to do anymore. And those people still, it's funny because there's still some people who will talk to me from the police department and they will be like, you ever regret leaving? You'd be drawing your retirement by now. And they're correct. I would have been able to retire in 15 with my 20. And here's the thing, guys, right? That monthly retirement check, it's like almost, not quite, but almost 2 days pay with Beachbody, right? So I don't think that it was a bad decision at all. It was absolutely the right decision. Not to mention, I understand that, I don't see any other cops on here, but I don't see everybody. But not to mention, that something tragic could have happened because I'm trying to get to my 20 years. And so, the only difference between me and any of you guys and gals is time and consistency. Every coach has a join date, or almost every coach has a join date, and they have a start date. So if you're on this call and you've been a coach for a while and you really haven't really dug into it, then today can be your start date. You can be like, all right, look, because if you've been on this team for a long time, chances are you've got a really, I almost cussed there, a really great downline, right? A ton of coaches in one leg, and nobody maybe on that other leg. And it's such an advantage to have a huge downline, because basically what that means is it allows you to work pretty much on just one side of your business. where, you know, I had to build the whole thing. Like everybody in Team Panacea, all 4,200 of them can essentially be traced back to me. But, you know, you guys, because of Team Panacea's, I don't know, tenacity is, you know, you probably got coaches being placed underneath you that once you make Emerald and you start putting coaches on both sides, you're going to earn money off of those coaches too, even though you didn't put them there. You know, the analogy that I use, it's like a trucking company, right? So like if you've got a ton of coaches in one side, then, you know, you just imagine that every truck represents an 18-wheeler over there just waiting to make a delivery so that you can get paid. But the other side of your organization, each coach represents a truckload of material to deliver. But if you've got 400 trucks and no material, then you're not making jack. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to just worry about filling up those trucks. You don't actually have to go get the trucks because you already got trucks on that side. You just need to work on that one side. So I've been ranting and I'm almost at 30 minutes already. So let me talk to you about how I got where I am. So the numbers, the magic numbers for me, guys, are 3 to 5, right? And I want you guys to write that down or make a mental note of it. But everything is 3 to 5. I want you to post 3 to 5 times a day to your social media. One of them should be about Beachbody, right? Or fitness. Maybe 2, but it can't be just 100% Beachbody, 100% fitness, because people will tune that out, right? People need to know who you are as a person. They need to know why it is that they want to do business with you instead of somebody else, or instead of just going to beachbody.com. You need to be the person that, like, you know, the other day, my neighbor, he calls me and he's like, hey, you know, my wife wants 21-day fix. Is that something you do? And I'm like, yeah, that's something I do. You know, the other end of that story is they decided, you know, once I talked to them about it, and they were super excited until I was like, okay, well, you know, you should get a challenge pack and this is the price. And they're like, I don't want a challenge pack. And then they were like, how much is 21-day fix? And I told them, and they were like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this club membership free 30-day trial. That's fine. I'll reach back out during 30 days. And when she weighs the same or more, I'll be like, okay, you want to talk about 21-day fix now? So 3 to 5 posts a day. One of them about Beachbody or about fitness. You need people to think about you when they think about getting in shape. The rest of them need to be about your dogs, about your family, about what it is that you like. Now, granted, you know, right now, man, you know, if you look at my Facebook page, it's all about police, right? I mean, because I got fired up over you know, some of this nonsense that's going on. But I tend to, especially in the beginning, basically for the first 4 or 5 years, I didn't post about politics. And we got an election coming up, right? And you know, my advice to you guys would be to ease up or avoid the political posts, because I'm gonna give you a little piece. I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you here. You're not gonna change anybody's mind, right? You can post how much you hate Hillary or how much you love Trump, and or vice versa. And it doesn't matter, because half the country disagrees with you anyway. And so, you know, and it's just like profanity, right? If you're on your page, I don't want you, you know, firing off F-bombs all the time or anything like that. Because what that does, if if people just passionately disagree with you about politics, then they're going to choose not to buy from you. If people go to your page and you're F-bombing all over the place, left and right, then they're going to choose not to buy from you. Where on the other hand, nobody's going to go to your page and be like, wow, this guy completely disagrees with me about politics. I should buy for this from him. And nobody's going to go to your page and be like, wow, this person cusses like a sailor. I want to buy this from them. You know, there's no upside to it. There's only the downside. So, you know, I would suggest that you stay away from those things. 3 to 5. 3 to 5 friends a day. You add 3 to 5 friends a day. Okay? And that means, and it doesn't mean other coaches, right? You can add some other coaches if you want, but you know, if I really like adding people from groups that are close to fitness, you know, because they're already in like a race group. You know, if we're gonna run in a 5K or you know, there's an upcoming Spartan race or something like that. If you can get people that are already inclined to be in fitness, then, you know, that's a good fishing hole, so to speak, right? You know, but and you know, if I'm telling you guys, it's worth it, even if you don't like running, because guess what? I don't like running. I really don't that much, but it's really good for business. And so, you know, you can sign up for a 5K and make your own Facebook group for that 5K. You know, you can name it the Plattsburgh 5K, the Couch to 5K Plattsburgh training group or whatever. And now you're the admin of that group. And I'm telling you guys, people will come to that group. They'll find that group. And so since you're admin, you can welcome them to the group. You can send them a friend request. And, you know, it's not going to be, you know, something that they're going to be surprised about. They're not going to be like, why are you sending me a friend request? You know, you'll be like, well, because I just added you to this group that you wanted to be in, you know? And so think about, you know, it's important to be in those groups and to comment on something, you know? So I'll be in these groups and I'll be talking to somebody, and if somebody clicks like or, you know, agrees with me, man, I'll shoot them a friend request, you know? And sometimes even if they don't agree with me, I'll shoot them a friend request. Like if you've ever been to my page, there's this guy, Mac Jones. That guy doesn't agree with me with anything, you know, but he commented on enough of my stuff where I send him a friend request and he's going to see my stuff anyway, you know? But think about where it is that you're fishing, to use those words, right? Because, you know, I went into a beer drinking group and a cigar smoking group. I got anybody out of there, right? Because it's a bad fishing hole. But so you think about where it is that you're trying to find people and make that work. So 3 to 5 posts a day, 3 to 5 friend requests a day, and 3 to 5 conversations a day. You know, and I'm not talking about, it's not just, you know, out of the blue, you send your new friend Blue, or, well, okay, he can be named Blue. You send Blue a Facebook message that says, hey, Blue, I'm starting a challenge group in a week. Thought maybe you'd want to join. What do you think? You know, and he's going to tell you to go pound sand. But what you can do is go to Blue's page and take a legitimate interest in his page. Find something that interests you in his page and comment on it. And so, you know, let's say that Blue went and saw, you know, Secret Life of Pets or something like that. And you send him a message, be like, hey, my twins went to see that. You know, I went to see Independence Day 2, which was amazingly predictable. But how was you know, Secret Life of Pets? And you start that conversation. What'd you do today? And he tells you. And then what do? They ask you what you did today. And you're like, oh, you know what, I went to work, and then I came home and I worked on my little side business. And, you know, maybe he asks about your side business, maybe he doesn't. But you just build that legitimate relationship. You know, it's more about being interested in them than you trying to be interesting, right? So you just keep posting about what it is that, you know, Beachbody is doing for you and just your life in general. Positive stuff, guys. You know, it's, you know, there's so much negativity on Facebook, especially right now, you know? And so, you know, I have the things that are kind of branded to me, like my people are inherently good, you know, thing, and a couple of other things that I try to maintain and do those things routinely, because I want my place, I want my page to be a place where people have positive reactions to it and a positive influence from it. And so because of those things, you know, we got to be in a position where, you know, the first thing that we did was we brought Cody home. And then we you know, brought me home. And then we got out of debt. And you know, and then we were able to buy this house and you know, still own the other house in Bedford, and buy another house to where, you know, now we own rental property, which I never thought we would be able to do, you know. But I mean, you know, and it's really about, now I've been able to design my life to where, you know, Cody and you know, we were in Disney 2 weeks ago, and you know, we get to do that because of the time that I've put into this now. You know, it's really about buying back your time. I understand that there's times where you're like, oh, you know what, I just don't want to do that. But it's the sacrifices that you make now that are going to let you lead the life that you want to lead later. And it's hard to wrap your head around that in the beginning. I mean, and it's hard to put that much time into it and see a $30 paycheck or a $14 paycheck. And, you know, and it's easy to get frustrated if you don't watch the long game. You know, my last analogy, this is when, you know, I think that's on my 3 to 5. So I feel like I'm missing one, but I can't remember it. But so, you know, the analogy that I like to use is this business it's like a highway, right? And maybe some of you are rolling your eyes because I've used this too recently. But this business is like a highway, right? And so when I was just getting started, 3 to 5 coaches a month. You're the best. 3 to 5 coaches a month should be the goal, right? And that reminds me of another. And then once you build up your own team, 3 to 5 of your personally sponsored coaches making Success Club also. Thank you so much, Christina. Okay, so 3 to 5 posts a day, 3 to 5 new friends a day, 3 to 5 new conversations a day, 3 to 5 new coaches a month should be the goal. I know that some of you are thinking, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been a coach for a year and I haven't signed a coach yet. Or, you know, I've been a coach for a month and I haven't signed a coach yet. It's possible. It's not that hard. If you put it in your head that you're going to do it, then that's the first step. If you look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, it seems so hard, then it's going to be hard. You know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then making sure that 3 to 5 of your coaches make Success Club every month. So before I forget about it, let me give a shout out to Natalie, who went 4-star today. Oh, last week. Sorry, but it was 4th of July. So, right. I knew that on the next call I needed to say that, but man, I was so close to getting that right. But anyway, congratulations to Natalie. Fantastic job. And so, you know, Natalie gets that 2-star bonus, which is a nice little bonus in addition to her weekly paycheck. I'm telling you, those people up there in Plattsburgh are killing it. So this business is like a highway, right? When I got started, I would ask people, because I don't mind talking about money. Cody hates talking about money, but I would walk up and you know, one of my mentors, Jason Diebold, or sometimes he pronounces it Diebold, but I think right now it's Diebold. I would walk up to him and be like, hey, how much you making right now? You know, and he'd tell me. And I'd be like, okay, how long you been a coach? And, you know, I mean, and he would tell me that. And so then I would use that to figure out, okay, when I've been a coach for that long, that's what I need to be making. And I was constantly circling back around to him as time progressed. I'd be like, okay, what are you making now? And I was using that as a measurement for what I was going to be making, you know, that much at that point in the future. And so it goes back to the only difference is time and consistency. So this business is like a highway, right? And so Jason Diebold and some of these other coaches, they're in front of me, but they're on the same road. And so as long as I keep doing what I'm doing and keep moving my business forward, I will get where they go. Now, the number of coaches that I sign and the number of people that I help get into Challenge Packs and the number of people that I help, you know, make Success Club, then, you know, that's the amount of pressure that I'm putting on the gas pedal. But, you know, where I'm at, you know, I look around and I see this beautiful scenery and I see this designed life, or I see whatever, you know, you guys, every single one of you can be in that same spot if you just do what I did. There's no difference between me and anybody that's on this call except for time and consistency. You just have to put it in your head, like I did, that if this is legit, then I'm going to crush it. And, you know, it's either legit or I'm full of it, right? And I'm lying to you guys, but I'm not lying to you. A lot of you have been to my house and you know, and a lot of you have been friends with me long enough to where you've seen the arc, right? I've known Chad forever. Chad knew me when I was over there in Bedford, you know, so Chad knew me when I was a cop. Maybe some of you others that I'm missing didn't, but so, you know, they've seen this arc. And so Chad knows it's real. You know, Chad knows that it's possible, and you know, and I hope that everybody else does too. So, you know, the thing that I want you guys to think about is how much pressure you're going to put on that gas pedal, because all you got to do is move forward, right? You can't be the guy or the girl who sits in the garage or the on-ramp to the highway with the owner's manual going, okay, I need to know every single thing about this car, and then I'm gonna really crush this thing. You just gotta go, and then you figure out what the pedals do on the way, because you're gonna make mistakes, and people are gonna tell you no. Even if you do everything right, people are gonna tell you no, and that's fine. They're just not ready yet. We're looking for people who are looking for us, you know. And as long as you don't take an exit and turn around and go back where you came from and be like, hey, you know what? I'm content. Then you can succeed in this business. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being content. If you're happy, knock yourself out, you know. But if you're in this business because you want to impact other people's lives and change your own lives, then this is how to do it. You know, one of the things that I tell people, and I'm going to close with this and then I'll open it up for some questions. One of the things that I tell people, guys, is, you know, I believe that I've done more good in my time as a coach than I did 17 years as a cop. And I've been telling that story for years now, right? But even more so now, because there's so many six-figure earners on this team now. There's so many people who have left their jobs and they're full-time coaches. So that means that they're at home with their kids 24/7. That the only time that they're not with their kids is when they choose not to be. That I feel like I've done more for my fellow mankind than I did as a cop, because the people that I'm helping now, they want my help, right? And so, you know, and when people are able to, you know, if that's what you want to do, if you want to become full-time, you want to spend that time with your kids, and so, you know, because you're so much more present with your kids, then the potential is that they're going to grow up and they're going to be better adults, and they're going to have kids and they're going to raise better kids, and they're going to have kids and they're going to raise better kids. And so the impact, the ripple effect is so amazing that after everybody on this call is gone and nobody knows maybe even what Team Panacea was, there will still be people living better lives, because I bought a challenge pack in 2009 and started talking to people who started talking to people who started talking to people. And, you know, and that's the legacy that I'm so excited about leaving. And it's the power that every single one of you have too. Even if you don't, you know, even if you only sold one challenge pack, you sign one coach, and that coach turns around and blows this thing up and impacts thousands of other lives. There's 4,200 people on Team Pan right now, right? But that coach turns around and they sign up and they impact thousands of other lives. You get a little piece of that because you're the one who introduced them to this. And that's pretty amazing, man. It gives me goosebumps now just thinking about it. That's the kind of power and that's the kind of impact that we can have through freaking network marketing, guys. You know, it's amazing. Never in a million years did I think I would be a professional network marketer. But now, you know, I wish that I thought about it when I was 25. Although I don't think I was mature enough at 25 to realize what I'd had in front of me. And honestly, I don't know how to have done it without Facebook. But, you know, for you younger people who are getting into this now, holy cow, guys. You know, it's amazing. And you know, and there are things that are, there's things right now that it boggles your mind to think about, but it won't be long before it won't boggle your mind. You know, earning 5 figures a week used to be mind-boggling to me. The thought of earning 5 figures a week used to be mind-boggling to me. And it's not mind-boggling anymore. You know, this year at Summit, you know, I'm gonna be on stage with a bunch of my friends because, you know, this year I surpassed $1 million earned as a Beachbody coach. You know, that's blows my mind, you know, and you know, and back in 2010, 11, 12, you know, I was like, geez, so far away, but I kept pushing on that gas pedal and I kept my eye on the highway, and I knew that if those people can do it, then so can I. You know, if they can do it, why not me? Their children don't deserve these things any more than my children do. So I owe it to myself and I owe it to my kids to make this work. So that's what I did. And I'm not even close to stopping, guys. You know, not even close to stopping. All right. So that's like 45 minutes. So I'll give you all a couple minutes. Anybody have any questions or anything? I hope I didn't rant too much. It's one of my sermon calls. Every now and then I do a little hellfire and brimstone. There wasn't a whole lot of brimstone in this, so. Nothing? Nobody? You're welcome, Natalie. Sorry I was a week late. All right, guys. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Christina remembered another 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5 customers is Success Club. Yep, exactly. You know, so those are magic numbers, man, 3 to 5. If you do that and you do it consistently, you can't help but succeed. Coaches do either two things. They either succeed or they quit and they give up on their dreams. Those are the only two things that happen in this business. You just get to choose which one you're going to do. Thanks, guys, for being on the call. And we will see you next week. And I'll see a lot of you at Summit. I see a lot of people getting their Summit swag. That's exciting stuff. Can't wait to see you guys. Thanks so much for being on the call, and I will see you on the boards.